Imagine your ideal Saturday morning. Perhaps your perfect Saturday morning is sleeping in. Maybe your perfect Saturday morning is going on a weekend getaway. Or perhaps you like getting up really early and going for a long, invigorating run because you're not a normal person. Whatever your perfect Saturday morning is, I know that on a summer Saturday morning a few years ago, agency owner Jennifer was not having her perfect Saturday morning. How do I know that? Because at 11 a.m. she was sending an email to me with a cry for help. Jennifer wrote, "I am near burnout, and I'm not sure I can make it as the president of my own agency. I need help." Here's the thing. On the outside, everything looked good. Jennifer was well known within her industry niche. She was regularly invited as a speaker for industry conferences. She had a pretty big team. On the outside, everything looked great. But on the inside, things were falling apart. Jennifer wasn't paying herself a market rate salary because things were barely break even as is. Her key team member was on the verge of quitting. And several of her freelancers were flaky and unreliable. Jennifer was worried about saving for her kids' college, much less taking time off for herself. The question is, how do you navigate that? Jennifer wrote that Saturday morning, "I need to find a way to make it so that the agency doesn't just revolve around me." I'm happy to report that Jennifer is now in a better place. No, not that better place. Like, things are better. Things are better. She recently celebrated a record year in both revenues and profits, and she went from not having any time off to preparing for her third annual sabbatical. She's going to take 1 month off away from work. Pretty exciting, right? How did she get there? And how might you get there too? The key was a shift in mindset and a few new tools. And that shift is this: make yourself needed but not necessary. Needed but not necessary. It's a phrase from investor Mark Cuban. You might know him from the show Shark Tank. When he invests in companies, Mark Cuban is looking for companies that need the money, but they are not desperate. Needed but not necessary. I've applied that phrase, make yourself needed but not necessary, to management as this: you can't totally disappear from your work, from leading your agency. You still need to make long-term decisions, set vision, do performance reviews, things like that. But when you make yourself needed but not necessary, you are not necessary to each of your employees' day-to-day functioning. They don't have to ask you before they make any decision. How do you get there? Well, in my work with Jennifer and other agency owners all over the world, it comes down to 3 things. First, defining swim lanes, what you want your team to do and not to do. Then, identify the values, goals, and resources you want your team to follow as they make decisions, as a decision-making shortcut. And finally, coach your team. You can point them in the right direction, but you'll need to help them adapt along the way. After all, your team cannot read your mind. Let's take a look at each one of these. Swim lanes, like in a pool, help people understand where to go and where not to go. For instance, as an agency owner, maybe you want to work on client strategy for your biggest clients, but you'd rather not be the day-to-day client service contact. Great, define that as a swim lane. Maybe you want your project manager to handle problems or situations below a certain budget threshold. And then maybe if it's a certain higher point, they get their manager involved, and if it's a bit more than that, you get involved. Great, swim lanes. The key is you need to make it safe for people to make decisions within their swim lanes. You need to agree in advance that you're not going to second guess their choices. You can ask them to do things differently in the future, but you're not going to make them change what they've already decided. Values, goals, and resources works as a decision shortcut. If people know the values to follow, the goals around where they and you and the agency and your clients are headed, and the resources to consider in terms of time, budget, people, assets, they can make better decisions. Instead of saying, hey, get this done by Wednesday, instead, thinking about values, goals, and resources, you could say, we need this by Wednesday because the client has to review it internally on Friday. The latest feedback is on the shared drive, and we've allocated 10 hours to get this done. If you need more time, give me a heads up as soon as possible so we can request a change order. Now within that, they can make much better decisions without having to ask you every single time. And finally, coaching. One of Jennifer's challenges was that she had 2 freelancers who were not getting things done on time. I helped her coach them on time management and expectations management, and it worked out. For one team member, he went from being unreliable to a strong biller. And for another team member, he decided that he didn't want to follow the new standards that she had set. And ultimately, Jennifer replaced him. Through coaching, it worked out either way. Now, becoming a better manager in 30 days. It's a fairly short period of time. But if you apply making yourself needed but not necessary, and apply the 3 I shared, swim lanes, values, goals, and resources, and coaching, you will get better in 30 days. To make it even easier, I've created a free email series at 30daymanager.com that you can use to improve as an agency manager, as an agency leader, as an agency owner. Sign up at 30daymanager.com. You'll get a new tip every morning between now and a month from now to help you improve as a manager. Because after all, your agency is likely your biggest financial asset, whether you plan to sell for $1 million payday or you plan to keep working for the rest of your career and you need the agency to be a reliable, sustainable source of income. Go to 30daymanager.com and you'll get the tips. I challenge you to make yourself needed but not necessary. Your team will be happier, your clients will be happier, and you will be happier too.